Hey internet. So I thought today we would sit down and talk all about sweaters because I have a very large collection and you guys have asked me a lot of questions about it. It's something that I've built up over many years and something that I love. Over the years I have tried to really educate myself about what I'm buying because it does tend to be expensive to buy quality sweaters, so I thought I would share some of my tips and tricks and do a mini guide on the different types of knitwear and sweaters, because knitwear is the overarching term for what sweaters are made from. Pretty much in the fashion world things are either fabric, so then it's like a weave that's got this kind of grid shape when it's made, so the thread is going like this and like this, which is how I can best explain it. And thinner fabrics that aren't sweaters can be knits, so for example your stretchy dresses and things like that are probably knit. If it's got a four-way stretch going on, it's definitely a knit, and if you look close up you can usually see more of a pattern that goes like this in a kind of braided fashion, even if it's very tiny. And then also if they're of low quality they can end up pilling like crazy. You can get holes that end up stretching. They're prone to moss as well. If you have moss where you live, that can be really an issue as well. And then often if it's a lower quality it can end up fading, and especially doing weird shapes around the seams. So wherever it's sewn together you can end up with a lot of rolling so that your sweater doesn't lay flat on your body, or it can lose its shape as well. So you need to make sure that you're buying a quality product, and secondly you also need to make sure that you're buying a product that works for the purposes that you want. So if you live in a place where you're having -30 weather, your needs are probably a little bit different than if you're planning to wear your sweater, you know, during the early weeks of the fall in Cape Cod or something like that, right? Sweaters, unless they're made from cotton or from acrylic, if they're natural fiber, it's going to come from an animal, and if you're vegan you probably don't want to wear that then, but normally it's basically like they shave them and then they process it into yarn that is then made into sweaters like these. So I'm going to go through the ones that I have, how I pick them out, what I look for when I go to a store, and I think the best way to organize that is by type of yarn. So we're going to start with cotton because that's what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a sweater from Ralph Lauren which is really loose and it has a very open weave, and if you want an open weave like this I really do recommend picking cotton, because cotton is actually incredibly durable, both in terms of washing and in terms of wear as well. You have to be really careful with really open weaves like this. They look really cool on the body because you get a bit of that see-through peekaboo effect, which is really cool. However, the result of that also is that a looser design tends to also be weaker. So my advice is don't spend too much money on sweaters like this one. This one cost me about $50. I got it on clearance, so it is from a high-end designer, but you know, for whatever reason it just kind of ended in the leftover section at the base, so I was really happy to pick that up. And also have a thought as well when you buy it, if you will start to hate it and not wear it anymore if it has small defects. Like for example, mine has a couple of loose threads now under the arms. Because of the loose knit of it, it will tend to do that over time, so that's just something to kind of be mindful of. Cotton is a great option. Like with all of your other knits, however, even though it is durable, you do not want to put it in the washing machine. Actually, out of all fibers, cotton tends to be the one that shrinks the most. So it's not so much that it will be damaged, but that it will shrink like crazy and it will look ridiculous after, literally like something made for a child. I tend to treat my cotton sweaters like I do my other sweaters that are natural animal fibers. So I wash it in the sink with a very gentle shampoo or knitwear cleaner and then lay it out flat to dry after kind of running a towel over it on top and underneath to get out most of the moisture out of it. And I don't do that too often because actually natural fibers probably need to be washed less than you think that they do. So if you have any questions about how to take care of your knits, I actually have a whole video about clothing care including knits, and I literally show you how I wash it. So you probably want to check that out because I don't want to get too long-winded about it. But that's about all I have to say about cotton. So one thing I do want to mention before we get into cashmere and wool is the possibility of acrylic as well. This sweater from Club Monaco is actually polyester, and it does have a cottony kind of feel to it, so sometimes it can actually be hard to know what it's made of, so always check the tag if you're curious. That will definitely affect how you care for it. So this is actually a sweater that I would probably be much more likely to wash on a gentle cycle. And you can see, because it's synthetic, you can do a lot more cool effects. So if you want sweaters that are metallic or have like funky textures to them, or just be generally all around more affordable, then synthetics are actually a great option. However, you won't get the same feel on your skin normally. They often do not last as long. If you take really good care of your natural fibers, they can last for a long time, like a decade. And most of all, I think the benefit for synthetic versus natural fibers is ultimately how warm they are, because synthetics are just never really going to be quite as warm. However, this sweater is one that I love. I've worn it in videos before. You can see how cool it is because it almost has a bit of a duochrome where it looks shinier or less shiny depending on how the light hits it. So keep an eye out for fun pics like that, but I would say try not to spend too much money on them, because ultimately what it's made of is less expensive, so the retailer is kind of taking a bigger cut on, you know, the ultimate value of the garment. Now it's time to get into the good stuff, because it is just so interesting to me, the whole world of sheep's wool and goat wool as well. It took me a long time to sort of learn about it and actually know what my sweater was made from. So for some of you this may be kind of boring, for some of you this may be totally like mind-blowing news. There are pretty much two different types, generally speaking, of widely available natural fibers in the knitwear world. One is wool from sheep, the other one is cashmere from goats, and there are actually many different types of goats. The cashmere goat is just actually one type, but those are really the prevalent two types that you will see very much in stores. So starting with wool, there are generally two different types of wool that are available now. One is lamb's wool, and I actually don't have a sweater made out of that to show you today, but you can find it sometimes in smaller retailers and more in Europe, I think, than in North America as well. There's another type of sheep that is very highly valued and definitely more upmarket, and that is merino wool. So if you didn't know, merino wool actually comes from the merino sheep, and it often results in a thinner, more breathable knit than cashmere does. So we'll go more into cashmere in a second, but you can see here's an example of a merino wool sweater. This one is from Rag & Bone, which is probably my favorite manufacturer of merino wool sweaters. However, you can get them pretty often from J. Crew. Even sometimes the Gap has merino wool sweaters. Actually, for men, I've seen some great ones at H&M recently, and I got my boyfriend one from there. So merino wool is still more affordable than cashmere, generally speaking, although sometimes, depending on the designer, the price will get up there. Definitely often woven into a thinner sort of knit, so you can see this one is definitely more fitted to the body. It has really slim sleeves going on, and the only thing I would say about that is make sure that you're buying high quality merino wool, because I have had merino in the past that has had holes in it without having a moth problem just from wear, because it tends to be woven a little bit thinner. Just a slight downside of it as well is it actually tends to wrinkle a little bit more than other wools do, or synthetics do, or cashmere does as well. So this is just from sitting on a shelf. You can see there's a little bit of wrinkles going on throughout the body. It's not something that I worry about too much though, because since it's a natural fiber, it really reacts well to the heat of your body, and those wrinkles will usually fall out within a couple of hours of wearing it. Now finally, let's talk about cashmere, because I feel like that is kind of like the creme de la creme of knits that everybody thinks that they want, including me. I do have a cashmere addiction that I have to admit right now, so I'm definitely partial to it. I'm just drawn to its softness. I love the texture of it, and I love how warm it is. So for a lot of people, actually cashmere is too warm for a West Coast climate like we have here, but for me, I actually love it because my office is very cold. I find the climate here to be quite damp, and I find that cashmere as a natural fiber really helps to protect you from that dampness, and it's also great for a base layer. So I like to wear thinner outerwear like leather jackets or items like that, or like a thinner suit jacket, and cashmere underneath, and I find that personally very comfortable, and that's kind of worked really well for me wardrobe wise. For cashmere, when you're in a store and you're looking at a cashmere sweater, whatever price point we're talking about, because I think nowadays price points for cashmere really go from $80 is I think about the lowest that I've seen it, all the way up to like $2,000 for a cashmere sweater, which I personally would not pay because unfortunately clothing tends to be ephemeral in a way, like nothing is ever going to last you forever, so that's really a bit much. Most of the cashmere that I buy tends to be around the $150 average, I would say. Sweater from Black Goat, which is a local line here in Vancouver, but it is available online, is a really good example of your all-around, just really good basic cashmere sweater. It's a really bright plum color, and actually if you're unsure of the quality of the cashmere, the colors that they're dyeing it are actually really good indication, because over processed, poor quality, thin cashmere will actually not hold color well at all. Other tips when you're looking in the store as well is if it's already got visible pilling under the arms or around any of the seams, or it's pulling or snagging around any of the seams, don't buy it. You are dealing with poor quality cashmere. Other tips are if it's overly slippery or overly thin, then it's probably not very high quality either. The minimum ply that you probably want to buy, which is kind of a good middle for quality versus thickness, is 2-ply. Your average high quality cashmere sweater will be 2-ply cashmere. If you can barely see your skin and you can just see a bit of light, that means you're probably dealing with a 2-ply cashmere sweater. You also have all of these blends available, so often sweaters will be half cotton, half cashmere, and then you get a bit of a lighter, more breathable look as well. I don't have a lot of that in my wardrobe, but something that's kind of exciting now is they're also making much more lightweight clothing out of cashmere. So Kid and Ace are doing, I think, like 8 to 10% cashmere in their t-shirts, so that helps them to be warmer and more durable, and you get all the benefits of natural fibers in a t-shirt that's still lightweight enough to wear during the summer. So that's just a point that cashmere isn't necessarily something that takes form in a heavy sweater. It can also be something very breathable and easy for the summer as well. So I hope that you guys found this video helpful. I really enjoyed putting it together for you because it's such a passion of mine to just keep educating myself about what I'm buying, because then I feel like I can make smarter decisions. So my aim through this channel is always to kind of put information out there that will help you to do the same. So let me know with a thumbs up and by subscribing if you liked this video and you would like to see more, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!